Now, in the almost 20 years that have followed the 7/7 London terror attacks, one common theme emerges from the survivors' stories: the lack of emotional support when it was needed the most. 52 people died on July the 7th, 2005, after a series of coordinated bombings ripped apart the capital's transport network. Hundreds more were injured. Campaign group Survivors Against Terror say the mental health response was under-resourced and that the system is broken. They spoke to our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
There was a time when the very idea of travelling by tube would give Ella a panic attack, with good reason. 20 years ago, she was on a Circle Line train blown up by a suicide bomber at Edgware Road.
Suddenly there was just an almighty bang, and I assumed that the train had crashed.
52 people were murdered in the 7/7 terror attacks in 2005. 6 of them were killed in the Edgware Road blast. Ella was one of the lucky ones, or so she thought.
I'd injured my hand quite severely, and I'd also got cuts and bruises. My eardrums were damaged.
But like many people caught up in terrible events, Ella would later be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
It was only as time went on that it became apparent that I was avoiding everything, including going out and talking about it, and it was extremely difficult. I went to the doctor on a regular basis. I did a quiz to see how depressed I was and a quiz to see the level of PTSD, and they said you do need some help and you're on a list and you'll have to wait, and that was it.
Today, the campaign group Survivors Against Terror published a report marking the 20th anniversary of 7/7. It claimed survivors didn't get the support they needed.
Surely that was a different era. Things have improved since then.
You would expect so, wouldn't you? You would have hoped that the system would have changed, but in reality, we've got the same system, we've got the same delays. Manchester survivors that we work with very closely, so many of them still in exactly that same position.
I think the fact that I got out is a problem, because other people didn't, and I probably still do to some extent feel guilty about that.
Are you angry about how you and other survivors were let down?
Yes, yeah, and that, I'm angry that I'm not convinced if it happens again that it's really improved.
The Home Office says it's committed to learning lessons from the past and plans to set up a support hub for survivors and victims. Ella doesn't like to talk about what she witnessed in the aftermath of the explosion. She's learned to cope with the flashbacks, and travelling by tube no longer holds any fear. Simon Harris, ITV News, Edgware Road.
Good evening. It is Labour versus Labour, a major test for the Prime Minister tonight, not just from opposition benches, but from within his own party. In a little under an hour, the government faces a crucial Commons vote on welfare reform, specifically the Universal Credit and Personal Independent Payment Bill. Well, many London MPs are openly opposing Sir Keir Starmer, including his most loyal, over what they call regressive measures. And disability charities are in agreement. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Sophie's benefits are a lifeline. She runs a dog grooming and pet sitting business, but her ADHD, autism and hypermobility issues mean she can't work full-time. She gets more than £2,500 a month, universal credit and personal independence payments, or PIPs.
It pays for my home, the food that we eat, for me to go out and have a car. I can't and won't use public transport because I hate it. I can't stand, especially buses.
The benefit cuts were meant to trim £5 billion a year from the welfare budget.
This bill, alongside our wider reforms, will help people who can work to do so, protect those who cannot, and begin to get the benefits bill on a more sustainable footing.
But almost a year after Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, the row has exploded into Labour's biggest crisis since the election.
At the height of the rebellion last week, it looked as if almost 20 London Labour MPs would defy the government. Some have now been persuaded to fall in line, but not all of them.
In a series of U-turns, existing PIP claimants will now be unaffected. Only new claimants will face tighter rules, and disability groups will work with ministers to draw up the rule changes.
How are you going to vote?
It's going to be really difficult for me, but I will be voting against the bill this evening, should it go to a vote, as I cannot vote to cut support for tens of thousands of disabled people. As a disabled woman myself, I couldn't look in the mirror knowing that I've done something like that.
I think what I'm doing today is I continue to meet and engage with colleagues, cabinet colleagues, just looking at some of these proposals in more detail before I come to a decision later this evening.
So you're undecided?
I am still undecided.
I've fought all my life for the Labour Party. I've been in the Labour Party all my adult life. I did not come here to vote against my own government, and I really find it very hard to do so. But when I think they are fundamentally wrong, in all conscience, I have to do what I think is right.
Outside Parliament, a protest was organised to pressure normally loyal MPs to become Labour rebels.
Now let's talk to Simon, who's in Westminster for us. Simon, we know there have been concessions made already, but some changes in the last hour.
Yes, in what appears to be a last-minute attempt to buy off more of the rebels. The Work and Pensions Minister, Stephen Timms, who's also the MP for East Ham,